Hi, everybody. It's working. So I'm Altan, one of the founders of MoreMarkets, and today I'm going to talk about crypto isn't modular anymore, it's vertical. I know we just talked about modularity a lot over the last years. I just want to break it down and how crypto has been changing over the last year. So the dream that we were pretty much started this crypto journey has been that we have obviously composable layers, shared infrastructure, and obviously customizable stacks. So you've seen obviously OP stack, pretty much all the other layer 2s built their own stacks. Obviously shared infrastructure, you can see smart contracts being deployed, and composable layers, right? You can have in terms of building blockchains, you can have a DA layer, you can have execution layer, all of these supposed to be modular, and all of these have its own tokens. But if you look at the latest projects that were successful, you see that Hyperliquid and Ethena have been pretty much building vertically. So I'll explain what vertical stack is in terms of what crypto enables with vertical stack, and how also traditional projects such as Apple and all the other Amazon, they built their own vertical stacks themselves. So you can define modular crypto stack in different ways. Blockchains define it in 4 different ways, so execution, consensus, data availability, and settlement. You can also define it in this way, where you have applications, roll-up, DA layer, and layer 1. But if you look at the successful projects, such as Hyperliquid, they pretty much decided to build all the stack themselves. And if you draw conclusions from the existing tech companies, you look at Apple, which designed its own chips, operating system, hardware, and app store. Tesla builds its own batteries, builds factories everywhere, builds the software and manufacturing themselves. And Amazon also started with a bookstore, but owned the right to build their own vertical stack, right? So they built their own e-commerce website, they have their own storefront, they have their own logistics and delivery. And breaking down Apple, which is interesting to see, is if you're in the US or in the EU, you can buy Apple phones through careers. You can also go to Apple Store, which everybody buys their, free now, but buys their apps. And you have their core applications, which is Safari, iMessage, all the applications that's built by Apple. They have their own sort of operating system, iOS and macOS. And finally, they've decided to do in-house chips, which is M1, M2s. So they build a whole hardware stack, not because they just want to own the system, but to just make sure that customers get the best experience. And drawing up from the sort of crypto examples, there's been a lot of sort of movement around building your own blockchain. So Hyperliquid is a great example. They're a perp DEX, but they built their own L1 for trading, which allows you to, they didn't go on Ethereum or Solana to build their own trading perp DEX. They built their own L1. This allows you to also have unified liquidity, which obviously you have the perp DEX, but also the spot market, and you can actually do a lot of different trades using the spot and the perp market. And the best benefit of this is almost a centralized level UX with DeFi level transparency. So centralized exchanges don't have obviously the transparency that Hyperliquid offers. You can see the orders on chain, and that allows them to pretty much build a very sort of a superior experience for a lot of traders. And you can see this with the graphs in almost like February 2025, they're the biggest perp DEX on chain. And you can also see that there's a lot of movement between DEXs and SEXs to get the market share, right? So the market share of the DEXs have been improving. And that's because Hyperliquid pretty much builds it vertically. They own the blockchain, they own the app. They can now build landing markets and spot markets and everything they can to basically power one thing, and that's for the user. So how does this relate to MoreMarkets? We're thinking about it in the same way, that if you want to deliver the best on-chain earning experience, you need to be building everything from scratch and make sure that the user benefits from everything that we built. So the problem we see, which is interesting in a sense, that if you look at Ethereum, DeFi has been the main thing that Ethereum is focused on. But if you look at Bitcoin, XRP, Dogecoin, all those big assets, they're pretty much sitting. They don't do anything. People buy them on exchanges, but they don't do that much to earn yield on them. And you can look at the numbers. This is a bit of a February data, but I defined sort of this almost a metric that's called AUR, asset utilization rate, which is TVL divided by market cap. So good example here is Ethereum is almost 16%. I think even might be higher now, given the stables are there, and ETH price has been dropping. But if you look at XRP, which is one of the biggest assets, the utilization rate sits around 0.04%. So almost 126 billion market cap is not being utilized for any trading activity, any yield. And that's something that we see as an opportunity. So when you think about this, what's the ideal feature set of an earning app? If you look back to 2022, there was a lot of a lot of players issued bad debt, but we don't want to be. We want to make it everything fully transparent, over collateralized, non-custodial, and obviously what I talked about Hyperliquid and Amazon and Apple, just to make sure everything is user first. So user benefits from the best markets, but also from the best experience themselves. We use, in this architecture, so I'll break it down how we build the architecture. We use near-chain signatures, which is a great technology that allows you to spin up addresses across different blockchains using nearest validator sets that's been around for a while. You can spin up a XRP address, you can spin up a Bitcoin address, and Dogecoin address, any that essentially did not have smart contract functionality. We can use near-chain signatures to build markets around them. The other important sort of aspect is I'll break this down simply. There's two different chains. Principal chain is where you take the deposits. So it could be an XRP chain, it could be a Bitcoin chain. And there's a receipt chain where the tokens would go and live, and that's where the markets would be created. So users who come to basically use MoreMarkets app, they'll come in, let's say Alice deposits this asset to a vault. That vault is obviously lives on the XRP chain, and we were able to send messages to Ethereum, Solana, Base, where these assets can become useful. We mint a sort of a synthetic asset, and that synthetic asset, we can take it into any liquid market. So it could be Morpho, it could be Aave in the future, and we use that to generate almost yield for the asset depositor. So there's two different important sort of actors here, which is a strategist. Morpho has these examples. So you can come and create strategies for the user. It could be, in a traditional sense, of like a hedge fund that you can generate money for the user. And obviously, the other one is the accountant, which makes sure that the price of the asset and principal chain and receipt chain are the same. So simplifying this a bit further, how does it look like? Let's give the example of XRP. You can make a deposit on the XRP chain. We mint a synthetic asset in Solana. It could be to a Camino, to any other sort of AMM. We generate yield from there, and then we take the yield back to the user, which essentially turns the idle asset into a productive asset, allowing some sort of APR for the asset holder. And thinking about how we can verticalize this DeFi stack, there's obviously a MoreMarkets app that's coming very, very soon. It looks amazing. It almost looks like a fintech application, which is great to see. We generate accounts using near MPC. We have more vaults. We use boring vaults from Veda that allows you to sort of be very flexible with DeFi. And obviously, you can make deposits into Ethereum, Solana, and Base in any of the blockchain that we think is the demand center for these assets. So final thoughts and remarks. One thing I've realized over this last year is, obviously working in L1 before, is that a lot of L1s and L2s are at this point offering similar experiences, and transaction fees are almost becoming zero. So with that, I guess most consensus algorithms are starting to look similar. The crypto is not like 2019, 2018, where you can write a white paper and expect that to be the thing that you're pushing for the next 2-3 years. And most infrastructure, if you look at bridges, bridges are commodified too. There's too many message passing there. Bridges, and the fees are almost going to zero. And the most important thing that we realize as MoreMarkets team is that differentiation is all about liquidity and users. So if you can get the distribution, and that's where the app funnel is, you can generate a lot of value for the user. So a lot of the things that we're building in mind, we're building MoreMarkets is to make sure that we offer the best sort of earning experience for the users being fully on-chain. And the case for vertical stack for us is you achieve better performance, you almost control end-to-end user experience, and also there's some sort of increased value capture, right? Because you have the whole stack to be yourself. You can capture the value rather than just giving the value to other players that you use. So you can join waitlist. So we have, I think, more than 30,000 users joined waitlist. And you can also follow our Twitter accounts. MoreMarkets XYZ is our sort of company account. And I also yap quite often. So that's Mr. Altan Tutar on Twitter as well.